I'm eminently sensible.
Actually, hold on. I think I threw one in the donation box yesterday.
It will be starting shortly. We think inside of 5 minutes here. We'll be starting out with Swiss as per usual, and this is a core event.
Found it. How many copies?
One.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, with a lunch break in the middle, and I believe that is all that's on the schedule for today, with the elimination being tomorrow.
Oh man, I used to run as my
That was cool, pal. I'll take one. Yeah.
it ends up kind of a cool card.
Yeah, it's the format has switched around a bit here and there. So once upon a time when Final Cut was longer, it was like this, where Sunday was only Top Cut. Now, um, more recently, we put some of the elimination rounds in the end of the day. People got very tired. We would have like 10 p.m. elimination matches, which some people were grumpy about. So this way, there's pros and cons. People are finalists. This way, they'll have more energy, but they might not see as much of the rest of the con. But as far as a viewing schedule for us and all of our viewer listeners, it's probably going to be a little gentler this way.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Was that even a question?
as far as the tournament, which will very soon be commencing, we've got right now 16 players. Um, and then the main difference between this Continentals and the last one would be the second prize wheel has been released.
By the way, how are we on screen size right now?
It's done.
It's done.
I personally can only speculate as to what changes that might imply for the game. There have also been some bans between now and then. Um, do we have any favorites? They don't even have to be, the ones we think are the best, just the ones that we want to see thrive in this tournament here.
Is there anyone that is going to be playing in Continentals that has not already signed up and or provided a deck list?
Okay.
Jeffrey?
I have not already provided or paid for that sheet of superhero-sized paper.
Yeah, the Royal Tutor is pretty strong. Well, there are a few ways to do it, but the one I've seen the most is this very action generation intensive strategy, because there's this new Trixie. You've also got the same day delivery, which
Okay,
is
stream. Do you see
quite
this? You see
strong.
this? This is a nice piece of American letter-sized paper. You see this? You know what this is? This
Slightly larger.
This bit of this paper is discrepant.
Discrepant paper. I'm horrified. Once again, the tournament has been saved by Arakat. I don't know how we could have made it through with European paper.
Confirming one more time that every single player who is here participating has either given me or ensured that a physical copy of their deck list has been provided. Is that correct? We're going to go one by one and double check here. Max? Yes. Okay. Smithers?
Yep.
Okay. Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. Sokol?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Brandon?
I've been shown a deck or two, but under the presumption of confidence.
Bugle?
So I'm not gonna be sure exactly what anybody is running here.
See, that's what happens when you dig a diamond saw. Cursive?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Pancake?
As you wish.
Oracat?
Yeah, that one is a good hint.
Mayo, and we're waiting on Minty.
So which of the sim guys are playing today? We've got Big Cheese. Is Ara playing or judging? Do we know?
No, what if there's a nightmare tournament?
If there is a nightmare tournament, we've done something very wrong. Say what?
It's Mayo 16th.
Mayo 16.
Everybody does like 10 of the Slack, Dragon Express.
Woo, top 16.
All right.
I have accomplished everything I set out to do.
Oh, you can't even say that. You haven't started yet.
I showed up to the con. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's
Top
my goal.
16. I've got out of bed in time to find. That's good.
Okay, everybody please grab a seat, and I'm going to do.
Oh, very exciting.
Okay.
Yes, that deck is very fast. It plays a lot of friends. Uh, it's very flexible on the friend side, but I do think it runs into issues just when it kind of runs low on cards in hand. Also, I think it's a bit stronger in the early game than the end game, but it's typically a lot of fun to watch. And in Swiss, there's pretty much only early game, so that should be fine.
Participated in a continental championship event before.
This sleeve doesn't match these sleeves.
Yeah, we could run a 3 card deck, just some belly flops. That would actually be, that wouldn't work very well. But
Is it a card? I'm pretty sure. Okay, that is a card in the deck.
goo, I'm all for that.
It's very
Thorax is strong. He's always been strong, but he's never really been the go-to yellow main. We've got the one Fluttershy who's had to be nerfed twice, and then other Fluttershy from Defenders, which might also see play here because she's pretty strong. Thorax is really powerful, but just a little harder to use. So I look forward to seeing if that'll work.
Sleeved and take out one of the sleeves from your sideboard every single game. So you need to sideboard at least one card every game.
Okay.
Okay.
I can get a default type of sleeve.
Well,
Are you like
I
just
think
short
the
one
sleeve.
sleeve?
I mean, those. It's those specifics that are. It's what he has that's wrong. It's like the darker.
Yeah,
orange.
there's like a pirate ship you have to resleeve. Yeah. Okay. Do that later. We are going to be running 7 rounds of Swiss here today. Each round is going to be 35 minutes.
Wow, yeah. So action generation, which actually Yellow has gotten better at. Yellow also is good at using the snack stand, and it's just got a little bit of everything. I really enjoy playing Yellow because, well, Yellow has a long and storied history in this card game. Yeah, nowadays it doesn't exactly have a core identity in the same way other colors do. It's just good at everything. Now, it's especially good against resources and troublemakers. Um, and of course, it's best as an aggro deck. But yellow is very multifunctional. With Thorax, obviously, Thorax likes critters a lot because he likes low cost friends. And Antoine works very well for that.
So it sounds like we have 15 or 16 participants today.
Which implies we'll probably have a top cut 8. And it also implies the 7 rounds of Swiss that we mentioned, which is a pretty good turnout, I must say.
No other arguments, no other questions, or anything like that will be accepted. So do not sign that.
Eminently Sensible and I, we broadcast from the same area, geographical area, and it's a beautiful day outside.
It is a beautiful day. Yes, I was spending this morning out. So in Chicago, we've got a thing where in Millennium Park downtown, they do yoga in the mornings. And of course, this is early in the morning Pacific time, but not so much Central. So I've already had a nice day.
Oh, that's nice. I ate breakfast.
The list I am holding in my hand right now is now 100% representative of the cards that are
All right. So
Another
I'm
thing that Aracat's deck has is Wrath of Gilda, which is kind of the only board wipe I see in any of these known decks that we've looked at so far.
yeah, board wipes are mostly absent in core. They were kind of the main way the game was played back in Adventure and earlier versions of core. I could see if somebody is playing a more control oriented purple deck, we should expect to see some school shutdowns. Um,
Yes, I should correct myself. School Shutdown is in the Royal Tutor list that Big Cheese will run.
that makes sense. Yeah, that Royal Tutor list, well, I haven't seen it explicitly. I could pull it up, but I'm guessing it's a little faster, but still, because it's got so much action advantage, school shutdown is a good way to kind of reset the game once we're in the middle game, which the purple deck would expect to have a stronger middle game than whatever it's up against.
Within that window.
I meant during the game.
You're asking about slow play, okay? Well, you should play carefully. You should be cognizant of the fact that these are timed rounds. If you have questions
So
on
is
the
Big
call
Cheese's
about
deck
any
also
particular
white?
round, call for a judge. In fact, if you have questions about anything, what
Yes.
should you do?
Let me bring it
Okay.
up.
Call for a judge. Judge, what else should you do? Raise your hand.
It has one copy of Sweetie Belle Field Twirler, which
Does anyone have
lets you
any
exhaust
questions?
Sweetie Belle
No?
and give a unicorn character additional power for events in the discard pile. So that can give you some white wreck pretty easily.
Yes, and that is
Don't keep your drinks
I'm
on the table.
well, it's just a fairly strong ability in general, but the fact that there's only one makes me tend to suspect that it's for color fixing more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see any major unity requirements here. I suppose Spider Surprise.
I'll do it again for topic. Okay. Thank you. Now, we are obviously streaming. We do have
So
people
I'm not
on
looking
tape.
at Big Cheese's deck specifically, but I'm instead looking at the top tier rated deck of the format right now, which is a Celestial White,
Mm-hmm.
which you would presume, it's in the absence of other information, it is the presumptive favorite to win the tournament. It's what everybody knows is strong, so people will be building around it. They'll be knowing that it's the top dog right now, which is actually a pretty major disadvantage in these very competitive situations. We've got, everybody likes to homebrew at least a little bit. You don't just take a deck off the internet most of the time. So even if people are playing strong meta decks, they're probably going to say, what can I do to make my deck better against the top dog, which right now is the Celestia White um, kind of unicorn harmony situation. So it's an advantage to be playing that deck because it's just a strictly strong deck, but it's a disadvantage in this other way where everybody knows to build around it.
Mm. In the last Coco, I built a Celestia Luster Dawn deck, very different from the one at the top. I had no white, for example, and I did very poorly with it. So, got to be careful with this.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe the white adds a lot of secret sauce. I know Mistmane is a very domineering card and will kind of make your whole deck feel different.
Oh, and then we have the lunch break part of the purple white deck to get lose all your action tokens and take an extra turn after this one.
Oh, interesting. That is not in the standard tier list. But if you've got enough action generation, that can be worthwhile.
Yeah, it can be copied with some of the unicorn event copying synergies, and you can get more than one turn, which is kind of scary.
That is not pleasant. Yeah, I think so. The unicorn copy, you need to have many unicorns out on the field already. So if people are worried about that happening, maybe doing board wipes is a good strategy to just keep the number of opposing unicorns as low as possible, because that sounds really bad if your opponent starts doing that.
I mean, I was trying to figure out if I could switch it between the cadence.
All right, I believe I hear the voices of Smithers and Aracat right now.
Decided that wasn't going to work. It probably could work, but the two decks would lose too much. You have to rely entirely on the element of surprise, and that doesn't get you
I see a blue card on the right.
Smithers
I think
on the
that's
right.
good enough, really.
Yeah.
Yep, all right. So we've got Cadence Blue against Fluttershy Blue.
Yeah.
Looks to be this matchup. I don't know Smithers' deck exactly, but
Hey GP, my deck's
sure
fully
seems
sorted
to
if you wanna
be
look at it real
that,
fast.
unless he's using 3 colors, which is pretty unlikely.
I'll search it later.
Yeah, it'll be good to see what Smithers has up his sleeve.
If I remember correctly from what I saw before it got kind of glared out, Smithers is playing with the Defenders of Equestria Fluttershy, who, once she's flipped, she's just a confront to flip. Once she is flipped, she can confront from home, right? She can use her power to contribute that to a problem no matter where she is. So she just has to exhaust herself, and then she can be contributing to the other problem, or if she's at home, she can go to either one.
Okay, I've at
Looks
least
like
got a multiple
Smithers is
apply.
going to
That's
start
good.
with bunkball strategy.
That's a pretty common start for that Fluttershy.
I have a sideboard. There's no point in
Gonna have 2 yellow to start the game. And then, as we've talked about a bit, Aracat is playing the Cadence, who is a little complicated. She likes playing 2 friends in a turn. On that second friend, you either get additional power from +1 power counters, or an additional draw. So as long as she's moving quickly all the time and spamming friends, she gets a pretty sizable benefit.
Fully sorted, and you have to mess with it a bit before it.
And after the starting problems are revealed, sideboards are determined.
Also, get hyped. This is the longest Continental Championship we've had here in the U.S. for the last 3 years.
Hey, two of those years don't count.
You decided out the one pirate should.
I mean, we did do an online con for that, but
Yeah, we did Continentals.
Players, you have
The Continentals was live.
35 minutes. You may begin.
And the 35-minute clock begins.
Yep, the countdown has started.
most of those got to
The game does not have
that
to
was
begin
35
yet,
minutes
but
stream,
they are on the
15
clock,
seconds in.
working on their sideboarding. Am I correct that Ara did not sideboard? That's one of the things that he likes to do is just run a deck and play that deck.
He will sideboard if he knows what the other deck is doing.
What is he shuffling now?
Oftentimes, you play someone, you don't know what they're doing, and
Yep.
it's a little harder to figure out. And he believes, not wrongly, that sideboarding wrong can be worse than not sideboarding at all.
Yep, it's fair.
6. 16. Okay. I think she wants to go first. I don't actually remember. I don't know how to play this deck.
All right, the game is afoot.
I may regret that.
Yeah, we've got just normal yellow-blue on the Smithers side. I see Bunyip, I see Shoeshine. Just kind of the
Shoeshine,
conventional powerhouses.
The Rainbow Dash lets you move a character if you have a blue
I
character.
don't like that.
Yep. So a deck that's fairly similar to what we've seen in the last couple of years from
Yeah, that
blue-yellow.
very sad.
Ara's mulling,
I looked.
perfectly normal. Yeah, if I were Smithers, I'd keep that. It's got entry, it's got your heavy hitters, so I get that.
Yeah, I didn't see if it had Philly racers, but that would be the only thing that it was lacking, I think, if it was.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's gonna-
Philly Racers is very good early because they've got a pretty
I'm going to get that
kind
and get
entry
sorted.
requirement,
Play with it.
and
Shuffle around.
They just will constantly add value over the course
Get
of the
the
whole
ball
game.
rolling,
Go ahead,
get
go
some
match
friends
with
out, add power to other characters. Yeah, it's a good card.
Why did we put the aggro match on stream round one? You're gonna be bored for like 20 minutes. Actually, no.
Actually,
Shuffling in person takes a
No,
little
this is
longer
fine.
than
I
it
need
does
to play
on
a game too.
Tabletop
Need to run
Simulator.
to the vendor hall. Go get a hibiscus stitch.
Yeah, the real life considerations. And you get less time for an in-person game than the typical
No.
online tournament. So it is actually very aggressive.
Yeah,
When you're
Tutor's
there
gonna
and you're
have a lot
playing
of shuffles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice, we've got a plush.
Am I doing anything this turn?
Good luck,
I
plush.
think it's a
All right,
bonbon plush.
Yes, I'm definitely doing that.
so Ara does at least have entry.
And they get the party mare out turn one, which is very good.
Not to draw cards.
Yes, that's another card that adds value kind of the whole game.
And 3 tokens. Yep.
Pass.
Alright.
Smithers elects to pass, probably
1 + 2.
looking for that fourth AT to get the confront to
Muffins
happen.
go even.
Yeah.
odd.
Randomness.
Party mare
that is-
randomly goes to Smithers' problem.
Card per turn.
That is not quite what Ara would like to see, but it's really not a big problem. He can still confront. It's just that if he flips his main, then it'll become harder to confront there.
I think I see 2 rainbow dashes that help move, and
Yeah,
Arcat is probably wishing he had a blue character right now.
Yep, but at least you can just get started.
It
She has
is
entry.
valid entry, absolutely.
Pass.
2, draw a card. I'll play that one instead.
All right, now it's Smithers' time to shine,
Here we
get
go.
moving. That one extra action, being up to 5 here instead of 4, may be enough for him to start doing silly things. We'll have to see.
I believe Arcat has a D4 on top of party mare now. That's not very confident in your party mare. Get a D20 on there. You can grow.
Maybe he just very much enjoys switching up dice. Go to a D6, then a D8.
2,
Maybe he's found a D10
Oh
somewhere.
yeah, sneak up on him.
2.
All right, so we get a conventional opening
Confront.
just to flip.
Confront attempt at the other problem as to not cause a single face-off and help party mare further. And
Ooh,
already
so this
belly
is
flop
a
emerges.
big expenditure from Aracat. So it slows both players down a lot, actually. Aracat is losing his blue entry in order to use that belly flop, but the compensation, of course, is that Smithers also lost his blue entry. So Aracat doesn't know Smithers' deck, but he knows that he has extra blue entry in his hand. So if he's lucky and Smithers just doesn't have any blue entry left, then this would be a disaster for Smithers.
Look who just drew even more blue entry.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's fairly strong.
Pass. You're no 18 now.
And we have a confront, and it is Smithers' turn.
Probably not getting flopped again this time.
Looks like he drew Kitchelat Citizens.
Yeah, I started that. I probably still want to play that.
So he's got entry, but he's also got Brian, which I think he's sort of internally regretting not playing last turn, which he could have. But here he's playing it before the blue entry, so that Aracat can't kill it. Very good. He definitely gets to start and play the game. It's going to be really quite challenging this early on for Ara to deny Smithers' blue entry at this point, because the Brian is just going to be able to protect that loyal pony pretty much come what may.
Confronted twice, haven't you?
Yes.
So not exactly the outcome Arakat was hoping for. Hitting entry early is really nice if you deny your opponent entry, but if you don't, kind of the downside is you didn't save that belly flop for like a really high impact card like Shoe Shine that's going to come down later. So this did cost Smithers time. It's still pretty good for Ara, but you know, if Smithers plays a Shoe Shine soon and Ara can't stop that, um, that could become an issue.
I feel like players have been playing their immediate tricks a little earlier in games past year or so.
Interesting. Yeah, it really does kind of shake up by meta, based on how key early momentum is. All right, that is going to be a win for Arakat in the face-off for 0 points. When you've got a lot of really, really high impact cards in the deck, like, you know, more than just 1 or 2 cards that kind of make your strategy, but very many that are all high impact, it can be better to use your friend removal early to prevent your opponent from getting started rather than trying to save it for those high impact cards, just because there are so many high impact cards that you can't really hope to remove them all. It really depends on the meta. I could see something like the purple action generation decks. It's just better to try to stop them from getting started than to wait once they're already started to use your removal. With these yellow decks, it's just hard to use removal on them because they've got an incredibly large number of very cheap friends, and they've got Brian. Now we see a Philly Racers in Smithers' hand. Smithers is probably feeling very good, even though he's down on points here.
And it looks like Arakat took back 1 Rainbow Dash as part of flipping his main, so now he has blue in play if he wants to play the other.
Yeah, that's a pretty good outcome. I believe Ara is at 5 points, so Smithers only has 4 actions rather than 5. But even still, he's got to do some math because he's got Philly Racers, he's got a flipped Fluttershy. Really, there are a lot of options. The only thing I would say is should be wary of burning all his powder too soon. This is a high point problem set. There are 2 bonus points at stake here. But if he has to sacrifice everything for the double, I might be a little skeptical. I would say just start doing your setup. Don't, for example, don't use Shoe Shine right now to like eat your entire board. Just go slow and steady.
Okay, Philly Racers, and not used for its discount yet.
That's interesting. I wonder if he has a hasty friend that he's holding on to. I can't really think of what it would be. But maybe he did the math that he needs to save 1 extra action for next turn. So why do I say 1 action? Well, what Smithers could have done was spend 1 action plus Philly Racers to put some other 2-strength friend on the board. And then he would be at this exact same situation, except up 1 friend and down 1 action. Which typically is preferable, but it depends on what the math is going to look like for next turn.
If the show taught us anything, it's that friends are good.
Friends are good. I mean, you need something for Shoe Shine to devour, you know? Actually, it may be that Smithers doesn't have any 2-sized friends in that hand. He's got Bunyip and Brian and Shoe Shine and then a 3-sized friend. Little silly.
Not getting a lot of distance out of cadence here. Oh well. Let's go for aggressive.
Yep.
That was
All right.
the first friend played.
Yeah, Arakat has at this point played 4 loyal ponies. we should expect to see no more loyal ponies come down from Arakat's side for the rest of the game.
Actually going to use the problem's ability. Agile Derpy over there.
Done that like once.
All right, so Arakat is actually being pretty aggressive here. So Derpy is Traveler, so she can get stronger if Arakat moves her.
Yep.
And what just happened was he confronted his own problem, which gives his friends hasty. If he chooses to use it, he can move them for 2 actions at immediate speed. He did that to double. So this is actually kind of problematic for Smithers. He waited a turn because he's just building out his board, gathering momentum, and then once blue-yellow has momentum, they go faster than any other deck in the game, basically, besides like a combo or what have you. But it seems like he was mostly betting on that not happening, because now Arakat is at 8-ish points. If he was at 5, I think he's maybe at 9 now. Which, even though Smithers is going to start moving faster than Arakat, that's a big gap to make up. Smithers is at, I believe, 2 to 9 is not lovely. Really, this is still anyone's game, but I think Smithers was betting on that not happening there.
I wonder if Smithers can gear up for a big multi-dilemma confront face-off.
Yeah, so at this point, he can basically just pick a number and confront that many problems once because of the shoe shine. But what he has to keep in mind is multitasking this such that he's also making sure that Arakat doesn't DFO next turn. Now, I don't see any counterplay in his hand, which starts to worry me. I might say go for as cheap a DFO as possible so that you can start getting a plan to slow Arakat down, maybe the turn after, or something like that. Maybe pay to draw even wouldn't be crazy. Obviously, you don't have to do that yet, but it's something that you could consider. All right, Smithers is playing the Candlelight Citizens without using... Okay, there we go. Now we see the Philly Racers being used for action potential. Okay, so...
And Philly Racers at home gives the Couch Potato characters more power.
Yes, of which we have 2, so they're going to be able to just barely present 7 strength to confront the other problem. So this was actually a relatively expensive DFO, but with a really strong momentum gain. So after he inevitably wins this DFO here, he's going to have 2 Canterlot Citizens at home, plus his Fluttershy, all boosted by Philly Racers. So moving forward, it's going to be almost free to double face-off every turn, which is strong. The worry is it strong enough considering you're still several points behind? And that's what's not yet clear. If Smithers can get enough counterplay, then he's got a good strategy here. Now, Arakat, we haven't really seen anything too unusual yet. It's mostly just been loyal ponies and Party Mare, like very early game cards. So Arakat has not yet kind of started being very tricky or started expending all of his potential big momentum cards in his hand. So I think it's probably safe to say he's going to be able to DFO here. And if he can, he'll be in a very strong position. 2 D4s. Sure, that works.
Need 6, have 6.
And Arakat is not needed to play a second friend each turn, so not much benefit from the Cadence main yet.
Yeah, not yet. He's had a lot of 2-cost friends, which is hard to play 2 of. If he sees some more 1-cost friends, that'll be better for actually triggering Cadence. Actually, I see a lot of events in hand, not really a lot of friends to speak of. But that's fine, because blue and pink both have very strong events, and he's just going to keep chugging forward. Now, really, he's not building up as strong of a momentum engine as Smithers, But that doesn't matter because what matters is having 15 points first. And at this point, Smithers has not found a credible strategy to slow down Arakat. If Arakat can also double next turn, he wins. It doesn't matter what Smithers is going to do because Smithers does not win
Sure, why not?
this turn.
Oh, I'm gonna have a bad time
Lots
next
of
turn.
locked in here with me all of a sudden.
Which is nice for Smithers, to be honest, that
Mm-hmm.
he can just triple confront here to get a little more points. I have no doubt in my mind that Smithers can get a triple confront. He can probably even quadruple confront with that friend or with that dilemma in hand, but that is not enough points to win the game. So he has to think long term. Well, he has a bunyip. Am I being a silly kid here? He could get 4 plus 2 bonus points plus a bunyip. 7 points. He's at. Well, he's not at 8. I don't know what he's at, but it's not 8. So that's not enough. He has to have some way to slow down Arakat. And Arakat has a lot of
Arkat's at 12
expensive friends in
points.
hand, but a lot of really high impact friends in hand where I have no doubt that he's going to be able to double next turn. He's got Swinging Wonders, right? So unless Smithers can come up with a strategy to deny Arakat blue or to hold on to some tricks for next turn, he's in this rough situation where he can definitely get to 12 or 13 points, but then he's going to lose at 12 or 13 points. So he's got to come up with something here.
Might be tricky.
Pay and draw, just like you predicted.
That is a promo art, Yona, maybe? I think that might be the one that bounces, but I'm not sure. I don't recognize the promo art. And there's Staff of
Yeah, I
Sakanas.
think
So actually, he
that's-
got a lot of counterplay.
Yeah, I think that's the. Can at least get Party Mare into the hand.
Let's go one more.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a quick check of that art. Yeah, I'm guessing that's what that would be. So I don't know how many actions he has left at this point. It may only be 2? It may be 3. Well, he should have gained 5 actions this turn. So he should have at least 3 actions left, which is enough to play and use the Staff of Sakanas or use Yona to put that Party Mare back and triple confront. Is that good enough? Maybe. It's hard to say, but it is at least a good start. In this case, I don't really think Smithers needs to worry about using his dilemma to triple confront. If he can survive this turn, I know that he's going to be able to win the turn after, just on, doubling this turn and doubling next turn. No counterplay. That worries me a bit, actually.
Yep. So, dude.
Front.
Yep. I don't feel like doing anything about that.
Oh,
You have the chaos effect.
Well, that Brian comes into play, which is cute.
Sure.
Might as well.
Face of 2.
Yep.
Goes to tap. It's not flipped anymore. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the deck. Throw my action token on the floor.
So I see Smithers only with 1 action left, even though he only spent 3. Maybe we have the wrong score for Ara? Or I'm just foolish in some other way. I think he has 1 action less than he should, but I don't know better than the players.
Bottom.
Doesn't the field one become a...
He also elected not to use the Philly Racer, which I don't exactly understand. Could have saved 1 extra action. But to my knowledge, he doesn't have a hasty or any immediate trick in his hand anyway. Oh, or did he draw a 3rd card that I didn't notice? That could have happened. And maybe it's a trick. So now I understand.
Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, so at this point, Arakat can win with a double. Smithers can win with a double. The only question
Okay.
is Arakat going to be able to double? Because Smithers is, I believe, holding one trick, which is probably either unsatisfactory work or the set a friend to 0 strength card.
Hmm.
And Arakat is just going to have to work through that, which is not necessarily going to be easy, to be honest. So what Arakat has is 2 Silverstream and Galluses, which are free if you frighten or
Dismiss.
dismiss a friend. But Brian can prevent either of those things, I believe.
Brian?
Yeah, Brian prevents
It,
banishment and
he does not prevent
dismiss.
frighten.
Not frighten.
Okay, so Arakat has a way, and that's what he was just checking. So Arakat has a way to proc the frighten with the Spitfire. He can't use the belly flop, but he can use the Spitfire, and that will make Gallus and Silverstream, both of them, free this turn, which is a very compelling way for Arakat to double, especially given Arakat will still be saving actions enough for the Swinging Wonders. That is pretty compelling. I think at this point he would have to make a mistake in his friend allocation for Smithers to be able to play a trick that could stop him. I think this is probably Arakat's game. He's going to have to actually do those calculations, and then we'll see for sure. But it's not looking good for Smithers. Arakat actually has a very strong hand, mostly because he hasn't played any major cards this game. He's held them all for right now, and this is the turn to use them.
Yeah, swinging wonders and a lot that you can do.
Okay. And I think this will survive a single piece of disruption. Okay. Step 1. Spitfire here. Discarding, ironically enough, a belly flop.
Discards a
get rid of
belly
the
flop.
It makes sense in that he only has the one and he has no real way to get through the Brian.
That was dumb. Oh well. Scare shoe I have scared something.
Oh,
Character
that is
has
actually
been frightened. Watch out.
that's actually pretty important to get that shoe shine, because if Smithers had flipped really well in this face-off, he actually has some small chance of using the shoe shine to get like an additional 6 strength or so, and then try to win the face-off, which would be devastating for Arakat. But this prevents that outcome, so he should have it in the bag.
We're gonna make real sure that I get this to stick.
I would say it's a little bit of a inaccuracy to play the Swinging Wonders before you wait for Smithers' tricks, but that's okay. It's still going to be his game. Smithers doesn't have enough tricks for this.
You're not gonna. I think this is resistant to
An unstop.
Scarface.
Yeah,
Attempt.
you got it. You got it.
Blip, GG.
GG.
And looks like we concede before the face-off.
He was sitting there on this belly flop, just being like, I'm gonna disrupt something.
That was pretty close. I mean, Smithers really only needed one more turn to get enough points to win. However, Arakat he expent a lot of extra resources to guarantee that Smithers did not get that extra turn. He was super safe in his ability to get this DFO. So at the end there, it was a pretty compelling victory for Ara. What I would say is the interesting thing is that On the right, we had the yellow-blue, which was constantly building momentum every turn, such that by the end of the game, doing a DFO is like trivial. It costs nothing. But on the left, we've got this Cadence Blue, which is all about using cards in hand to get what you want to happen. Cadence actually never triggered, by the way, except to put a loyal pony back into hand once. Um, but the thing that Arakat was able to do with the party mare is he actually didn't need to use his exceptionally strong hand the whole game until the very last turn. He only played basically entry cards before then. But at the last turn, where it really counts, he had saved up this gigantic surplus of really strong cards and was able to use that. Now, the turn after that, Arakat would have had basically nothing left in the tank. But there was no turn after that, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, an unchecked party mare can do work.
Yep.
And possibly belly flopping that entry early may have helped.
Faster. Just a little bit faster.
Yeah, it was a little bit of extra time. It was slightly more expensive for Smithers than it was for Ara.
Oh, it's sunny.
Nice.
So an aggro match. Now we have plenty of time till the next one. Don't
Yeah,
go away.
unfortunately.
Exciting action coming your way.
Yep, I mean, Swiss is pretty fast, so we should get the next one starting inside of 10 minutes. So if you wanted to go away for 5 minutes, it'd be okay. But, I mean, you get to see Sunny. What more do you want?
As always, chat, let us know if any of the volume levels are off or you're having any problems. Someone in the chat says everything is perfect. That's great, chat. Thank you.
I'm here to help.
Fought. Thank you, Max.
I am watching the stream, and I hear everything just fine, so everything's perfect.
This person has a commentary as magic badge. Might be Grandpa's. Might be Big Cheese. Maybe this is a random deck check. It's funny how many really important cards just sometimes never get drawn during a game.
Yeah, especially these shorter ones.
No pipsqueak.
I don't recognize that pink card on the bottom right.
Oh, that's a pipsqueak that draws extra.
Oh, I mean, I guess the far left. It's only bottom right from the sim person's
Oh, the left
perspective.
is that Pinkie Pie that grows +2 if you have more friends than the opponent.
Oh, just a promo version, I guess.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
Holiday Spirit?
Holiday Spirit. Thank you.
I guess I've been playing with tabletop so much that I've forgotten
Ah,
or have never learned all of these promo
Oh
variations.
yeah.
yes, yes, I did.
Yes, I was having a panic attack.
You
How are you
alright?
doing?
You alright?
Oh yeah, I'm good. No, I mean like just like a.
Oh.
I had a moment of panic, not an actual panic attack. I do have this,
Sure.
but how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Event started mostly on time and is running smoothly so far, so can't really complain.
Yeah, nice. How was the steak?
Delicious.
Yeah, of
I
course.
am looking forward to it for lunch. So, always one of my favorite meals that we have here. The Japanese place tonight's going to be pretty cool. Do you like that?
Yes.
So we've actually seen a lot of blue, even though actually blue has kind of been nerfed from last year. Um, blue, well, yellow blue was the winner last year. A stunning wonder. Yeah, stunning wonder. The one in the middle. Um, now it's hidden strength, which people don't really play very much, I think. But we've seen both players here are playing blue, even though uh, it's gotten a lot of nerfs recently. Blue had some problems that were problematic in kind of the tournament season before this one, and so those got taken away. Now blue is a little more fair to play against. Doesn't get these gigantic benefits
5 point
depending on what
turns,
problem comes out.
on a single confront.
Yeah, but it's still seeing quite a bit of play, which is good. We actually didn't see any brand new blue cards come out, so mostly this is blue just thriving on the strength that blue has always had. It didn't even need to cheat. It's still a pretty good color.
Yeah, the rocket scooter was nerfed.
It is now two Pegasi instead of one, or three, sorry. Had been three and now it's two. And that's true on all of its modes, including the retire Pegasi to dismiss resource. So it's actually better as a resource counter now. But that was by far its least common mode of use.
Do you know who won the Harmony tournament yesterday?
I do not.
Saw a lot of combo in the matches I watched.
Yeah, people, Harmony is not a strongly maintained format, so people are mostly playing it to relive um, decks and styles that were fun from the past, or they play it because they've found some new broken nonsense. So, for the most part, you go in knowing that, right? That it's not a strongly balanced format. If you want a balanced format, you play core or adventure.
Well, no, yeah, turn zero five turns. You also play time lock. Nothing happens on the fifth turn.
So I heard Hard Time was called a minute ago, so they're probably wrapping that up.
All right, so we've got at least some slowpoke decks around. Could be combo, perhaps, or maybe just a really slow to clinch control. The thing about hard time is that means that you needed to have passed up soft time, which means that the player's last turn needs to have exceeded 5 minutes, which is fairly hard to see. These modern Mistmane control decks, if they're going to win, they just say, well, I've got 8 actions and I only need to score 4 more points, so I'm just going to do this and I win because Mistmane. So it really doesn't take very long. So some other shenanigans may be afoot if we're seeing hard time.
I hope it's not a controversial hard time. Requiring many judges.
Yeah. Some very long rules clarification. At this point, the game is stable enough that that would be quite surprising. You don't
Especially in
want to
core.
see, yeah, you don't want to see the rules being rewritten during the tournament here, where there's some clarification that nobody's ever seen before. Which was, of course, an infamous happenstance very early on in the history of the game, before I was there, so I don't know enough specifics, but some rules were changed during the tournament.
The most
I should
recent one I
say
can think of
clarified.
is the resource, a golden parachute. Someone asked, "Hey, does golden parachute actually work that way?" I think you're
And
right.
yeah, the answer is no, it doesn't work how everyone's been playing it, actually.
I wonder who we'll see next on the stream table.
Yeah, typically they like to put the top performers over here, but there's only been one round. So probably we'll see two players paired up against each other that have won once, but that's not so hard because half of the players have won once at this point. So it still could be just about anyone.
Unless everyone tied.
That would be intense.
That would invoke a hissing.
Some grand conspiracy. Some deck that's like designed to tie.
Winning is so passe.
You know, if you want to be known for like one thing, I guess that's fine.
Okay, now that's hard time. I swear I heard hard time.
Maybe they were just threatening it. It is quite unusual to see hard time still called.
Is that you or Max? The spinner's running thorax? Nurturing nature.
I see the placemat on the left, and I don't know, I see 4 French fries.
Yeah, it's an alicorn with French fry wings. It is something else. It's new to me. You know, we've also got like a robot alicorn.
Should we just leave this over there? Or should we hold on?
I mean, I personally have not seen this playmat before. I've seen many of ours playmats, I think, so
Yellow AF?
purely speculation, but I'm guessing it's relatively new. And then, of course, a Continentals 2022 finalist mat is also relatively new. Precisely a year old, one might say.
And it's a cute mat. The ponies are.
It is a good one.
Hibiscus Stitchy is completely sold out.
Dancing in sync.
She's got
A rather confusing image out of context. Them all standing up, but they're about to clap. We all understand.
I think I've only seen him at
Have you ever gone to Everfree Northwest?
I have not. Um, I like the Midwestern conventions. They are easy to attend for me.
Yeah, right when decided I'm going to start going to BabsCon and Everfree Northwest,
I got
right
to
when I
this
made that
fairly early
decision, this thing called COVID
yesterday,
hit.
and it was
Yeah.
well,
And
there's three main
I
teams that
canceled
I
those plane
probably won't
tickets.
want to, but there's three of them, so I've got time to look around the rest of the hall
Yep.
first and come back. And
I know
I
the.
came back and there was only two left, so
So we had one year that was just purely online, and then we had one that was very masked up.
Small zip from her
But
until like
it was still like
morning, and it's just like
in the middle of COVID, but people came out anyway, and they
I did
played
see
pony
Zip there
cards,
yesterday.
and they watched the triumph of a horrible combo deck.
otherwise you have one.
I mean, it wasn't like it's
I already have a Zip
it's a
from
fairly
it
interesting
was this guy.
and like fine to play against combo as far as combo went, but it was still pretty nasty combo that everybody had to lose against that
All
year.
right, players, please listen up for your round two pairings. Round two, here we go. Okay, on stream we've got Pancake and Ivory.
Pancake
Pancake
and
and
Ivory
Ivory.
Starlight coming to the stream table.
Max versus Cursive Chord.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw out a little guess that we're gonna see some farm here.
Bugle versus Silkwool.
Yes, yes. But what farm? Is it orange farm or blue farm?
Or
Or
pink.
pink farm?
People have played Yellow Farm before in this format, but I don't think Pancake is one of those people.
You and I, we both played Thorax Farm a couple years ago in an
Yes.
online kind.
What's Ivory's name? Do you remember?
Yes, Thorax Farm is very interesting. It's
D4X?
like I've said about Thorax, he's a little tough to use, but a very high power once you get him turned on.
I don't actually remember.
It can be quite competitive, and I think Pancake has at least considered Thorax Farm in the past, but kind of consistency has always been Farm's friend. With Farm, you get some stonkin' flip average, you get some troublemakers out, and basically by the second or third turn of the game, your deck is performing exactly how well it will every turn of the game. And that consistency, it's good in tournaments, and it's something that Thorax does not offer. Thorax is about dreaming big.
Use the bathroom very badly.
And Pancake is playing Seleno Farm.
I still gotta figure
This
out
is a
two of the
deck
cards I take out.
that I played against in the last Coco, and I was surprised because I thought that Orange Farm was the
They're too risky.
current end-all be-all, but the Seleno Farm did very well against me, so I've seen it work. It's
Yeah.
blue-pink. It's got all the blue-pink tricks, some of which we saw in our against deck.
Yeah, that.
This precise type of strategy was quite oppressive before. Oh, all right. We've got blindfolds out, which makes sense if you know who you're up against, and in this case, Pancake does because Ivory's deck has been foretold. The blindfolds just don't need to be there for mono yellow. Now, yes, Thorax, mono yellow. Now the thing about Thorax here, in this matchup, is once Thorax turns on enough, he does have the chance to actually beat troublemakers, which is a big deal. But the downside to this matchup for the Thorax player is Thorax flips hilariously low. I mean, it's just not good. It's like 2 flip average or something against Pancake's like 4 point something.
Still correct to start with this.
Ivory
So-
makes the sad decision to start with Lackey Lesson Plans instead of Buckball strategy.
It is not
Ooh,
always,
yes, that's
but
very interesting. So,
It ends up depending on the
Buckball
texture of your
strategy,
hand and
especially in a
if you
mono
your
deck, means that you turn on
different way.
a lot faster.
There's a few options
And
in Thorax
honestly, you
where
could
that
try
is
to
not
get away with just not flipping your main at all if it comes to that, because you've got the 2 yellow wreck. But lacking lesson plans gives
prey on
you
top of the doubles, go first with
a clear,
Yeah, but
uncontroversial
if I
strategy
put Buckball
where you
down,
can
you're just gonna roll
definitely
for
flip
that.
your main,
I mean,
which
there's no reason
is
not to.
really nice.
You have Solano.
So it makes sense
you're
why
gonna
he's
gain
doing that,
points
for
anyway,
sure.
so
It's just
you
he might
don't
have a
care.
slower start because its entry curve will be more difficult.
that said, I have done that, and people have confronted on Buckball turn 1.
And the round begins.
Yeah, you guys know who this is.
I'm Pancake. I mean awake, I swear.
It's Ivory. It's Pancake. It's MLPCCG.
Wow.
You mind if I cut your problem deck?
Oh, yeah.
I am pleased to see this combination of people and things, but it is a fairly unsurprising combination of people and things.
4.
No, you're on stream.
These are
would've
people
said
that
something if
you can
just put it
rely
down.
on to attend the big tournaments.
Thank you.
That is 7.
That's yours.
So
I like playing farm. Don't
will
like to play against farm.
opt to go.
Farm
yeah,
has
to join
always
Fortress
been a
Direct.
strong format. Oh, I was going to talk about the ban of the Triad of Terror. So, before the Triad of Terror got hecka nerfed, it was a very oppressive strategy where, as long as you have Triad of Terror out, like for a few turns, you can basically do the backstroke and you're going to win every face-off. That is no longer the case, and it means that the kind of strategy that the blue farm has to manage by the end of the game
Too
is a
risky.
lot more
Yeah, too risky.
tenuous. Like, not that it is tenuous, it's just you have to have a plan. Whereas before, with the old version of that Troublemaker, you didn't really need to have a plan, you just needed to have a Triad of Terror out. You were going to win all of your face-offs and get 3 points once you finally decided to farm that thing. Now it's just a lot more touch and go. You have to keep an eye on how many Troublemakers you have in hand and how well you can actually farm. And maybe even you're going to have to do something to slow down your opponent because, you know, it's possible that they can get rid of your Troublemakers because you don't have Triad of Terror being completely suffocating. So the deck is just harder to make work than it used to be, but it's still a strong deck.
I'll pass.
3AT, and they
My deck
pass.
is upside down.
All right, we are now all the way over to the third turn of the game. That's fine. They went by very fast. Now we're ready for things to start happening. Well, possibly. Honestly, Ivory may not confront because he's on lacking lesson plans. And that's okay. That's not really an issue. He can afford to wait. Now, Pancake probably would like to wait and see where Ivory's going before playing Troublemakers, just because the ability to frighten things, for example, or maybe move everybody back with Vicious Vengeance. You just want to play the Troublemaker where your opponent already is. But he doesn't have any Troublemakers, so maybe that's why. Maybe that's why he did not play them earlier, because he just strictly does not have any. There's one, but it is not an epic. However, it is really mean.
Okay.
Grogar's Lair.
Grogar's Lair this early is really strong. All right, for context for everybody. Grogar's Lair, what does it do? It's not a card we see all the time. Well, when your opponent plays a card, they have to either pay 1 extra action for a friend. This is only for friends. Or that friend gets frightened. So the friend still enters play, you get enters play effect, but then after it enters play, it's frightened. This is a major tax. Now, Ivory is playing a yellow deck. He is almost certainly going to be able to get rid of this Grogar's Lair. But what I see in his hand is Brian, so he's still going to have to pay an extra 1 to get that Brian into play at all. And then separately, Ivory still needs entry. So if we imagine he spends 2 for entry, and then 1 for attacks, and then he spends 1 for Brian and 1 for attacks, then he still gets taxed twice. by Grogar's Lair, which is the same amount that Pancake paid for the thing anyway. So even if Ivory responds to this in a almost perfect strategy of like immediately getting rid of it, it's still an even deal for Pancake. It's a very good card against a certain kind of deck. A deck that wants to play a lot of friends does not want to see Grogar's Lair.
Focused attention on lacking.
I see. Ivory has elected a creative, different route to get his entry. So he's using no friends. He's just using the event that allows you to confront with just your main. So he can, boom, confront, no worries, everything's fine. And now he's got enough entry to play Brian next turn, if it comes to that. Maybe he'll get some other yellow resource removal. But if it comes to that, he'll play Brian. Oh, my goodness.
I figured it's against you.
And he would be able to get rid of that first Grogar's Lair for just a cost of 1.
And you got a
1 extra tax, I mean. Now, that's no longer true, because there are 2 Grogar's Lair. So, Pancake has now spent 4 actions on cards that are designed to tax his opponent. If
I
Ivory...
love how 2 Grogar's Lair is like, you know what, just frighten it.
Yeah, it's very silly. The 3rd Grogar's Lair is almost worthless, except as like an extra protection in case one of them goes away. Because, yeah, your opponent can always just to frighten the thing and then pay 2 to unfrighten it. At this point, yeah, it's really the same.
Yeah, really
Cards
not
just
2
enter play
agents of
frightened.
fortune.
Yeah, that's the thing. Cards enter play frightened is a really strong effect. And if Ivory wants to start getting rid of those, it would be best to do it with events,
Thank you, pass.
because spending 3 actions for Brian so that you can then get rid of 1 of the Grogar's Lair is a bummer, because you've already been tacked 2 actions out of a stupid thing.
Stop me if you've heard
And now it did cost Pancake 4 actions to play, but still, that's going to pay for itself pretty
That's
quick.
all 3 of them.
It's a 3rd Grogar's Lair.
All right.
So this is very
That is
interesting,
certainly
because
a
we
layer.
just said the 3rd Grogar's Lair is not great, except as a guarantee
Yeah.
in
I
case
mean,
your
I
opponent
think
gets
you
rid
just
of one of the
keep that.
Grogar's Lairs. We know Ivory is planning to get rid of one of those Grogar's Lairs eventually. But now he's got to get rid of 2 of them before he makes any progress at all. It's a bit of a bummer. The one thing I'll say here, so Ivory could elect to just play a Brian now for 1. It enters play frightened.
Bank.
And then
I
Thorax has
just
1 more
throw the
strength,
birds of a
you know?
feather.
He doesn't actually have to interact with the tax at all in order to trigger Thorax's ability of getting bigger. Because the getting bigger only relies on the cost of the friend, which is not related to if that friend is frightened or not. So Ivory could decide to keep playing with just his Thorax, and that would be okay. It's not amazing, but it's fine.
2 points.
And in that sense, he can kind of not respond to the Grogar's Lairs yet. However, being a Thorax, he's going to
I'm
have
not
to
confronting.
not confronting.
respond to those
Fair enough.
Grogar's Lairs at some
some reason
point.
I
There's
just
just
thought-
no way around
I
it.
wish I was confronting.
He
right
wants
now.
to put out
I'm glad I didn't
8
flip
billion
Me
critters,
too.
and he's not going to do that until the Grogar's
Points?
Lairs go away.
Okay. Gaining 3. All right. Give me something good.
Now, he does have a lot of actions.
Are we seeing the birth of Seleno Control?
I mean, it's a card.
Yeah, I mean, this is not quite as control-y as Pancake can get because he doesn't have any troublemakers down. But, so, one thing I'm sure he's hoping to see here is a single face-off at Lacking Lesson Plans.
the ability to
Thorax goes home, Ivory no longer has Lacking Lesson Plans, and then Pancake plays Tempest and flips Thorax back down.
when it enters
In
play,
that
so any previous
situation,
player
this
effect will
would
go off.
be
But then
just
Then I can pay
an
one.
exceptionally cruel amount of control.
Would you like to pay the one?
At the moment, Pancake has things going very, very slowly. Ivory's not going to be able
It
to
certainly does make
put
things
together a
different.
plan yet because any plan is just so expensive. But once Ivory gets a plan, hopefully he'll break through the Grogar's layers and then the game will be off again. If Pancake can
I
get
think I pay one.
some troublemakers down, it won't be so simple. He can really get like a near
I pay one
total
for
lock
Brian,
here.
and I do not pay, so I don't just play frightened. Do you mind if I use these?
Absolutely, go for it.
So the Brian just enters play frightened, as we would expect, because it's cheaper to unfrighten it than to
And
keep
gives
it from
power to
being
the
frightened.
thorax.
I'll pay 2. Adoption options. Yep.
Oh, so the reason he did that was just so that he could afford entry, so he would have 4 yellow for adoption options. Now he's going to get his hands on another Brian, which does mean at this point he could get rid of 2 Grogar's Layers this turn. He doesn't have to, but he probably will because Pancake is a pink deck, and he really doesn't want to wait around for Pancake to potentially get dismissal. Because if Pancake were to dismiss those face-down Bryans, that would be really, really unfortunate for Ivory.
It's gonna be the weird one.
Understood. I mean, it's 2 AT.
So for sure, we're seeing 1 Brian. We're almost certainly seeing a Bunyip, and then the third one is the like actual question. I'm guessing it's not going to be Fluttershy Birds of a Feather because Ivory already discarded one. Yes, Guard Geese makes a lot of sense. It's not the
Guard
only
Geese,
good pick,
One of
but
my favorite cards.
it's very flexible. It's very enjoyable to use. All right, yes, exactly what we would expect.
Brian.
This is kind of the core trifecta of what adoption options has historically been used for. People will do other things every so often, but when I designed the earliest deck that had some widespread success using adoption options, it was for these 3 cards specifically, because they are so versatile. You basically cover all of your bases with those 3 cards, and in a very powerful way. Brian's exceptional, Bunyip is exceptional, Geese are exceptional. Now the question is, does Ivory want to spend an additional 5 actions to get rid of 2 of these Grogar's Layers?
To play a Bunyip, who will enter play frightened because I am not paying. Thorax.
And I'm not sure.
2 to rally said Bunyip.
Wow, he's actually just going for kind of the Bunyip strategy instead of the Bryans at the moment.
For Spooky Ruins.
Ooh, spooky ruins.
And this is the reason. He actually thinks that he can win this face-off.
Right.
And then, you know, he's sort of off to the races. He's getting more points.
With you flipping nothing.
He just has to not flip like a 0 or something. Yeah, he got it. So this is an intriguing play by Ivory that I understand and really do strongly support, which is Ivory is building the potential to break through the Grogar's Layers, but he hasn't done it yet. Instead, he's just focusing on competing on points for now. And the reason why this is a good strategy is it's not just that he's getting more points and that, oh, now they're tied around 4 or whatever. It's that this strategy, which gets him points and keeps him tied, also puts down Spooky Ruins, which is exceptionally difficult for Pancake to deal with. We mentioned that Thorax has a terrible flip average and Soleno has a really strong flip average. Well, that no longer really matters with a Spooky Ruin on the floor. In addition, it's not inconceivable that Pancake would draw during the main phase, and that's just another thing that Spooky Ruins shuts off. So Ivory is slowly building his plan to get through the Grogar's layers, but he's not being single-minded and saying,
So does Fluttershy.
this is the
She looks
first
very
problem
unhappy
that I
there.
have to deal with. He knows, the worst that 3 Grogar's layers can do to me is basically, it's just as bad as 2 Grogar's layers, right? It's not some fundamentally new issue. I can work with this if I have to. And he found a better medium-term strategy. His long-term strategy is still
Move to confront.
Yes.
almost
Well,
certainly
the
to get rid of the
confront
Grogar's
is not
layers.
optional, so
It
I
may
would
not
have to
be,
let you
but
do that.
I would be pretty confident that
And you
he's going to want to do that eventually.
Okay. Gaining
But
3.
for now, he's prevented Pancake from farming, which is spectacular. Pancake's a farm deck. That's a good thing to do. At the moment, I would say Pancake is still in control of the situation. Like, he's got a lot more value on his board, but he's sort of starting to sweat, I would say. He's got less
who I am not paying,
of
so
an ability to roll with the punches the longer this game goes. He's got relatively weak resource removal, for example. If Ivory really starts setting up these strong resources to counter Pancake, it's just a much better situation for Ivory than for Pancake. It's like a lot easier for Ivory to deal with that.
Yep.
Deal with resources, I mean, than for Pancake to deal with resources.
Okay, face off. Defend the hive, so I will win that.
Once again, Ivory flipped pretty well, better than he needed to.
And Pancake could not.
And you're
Stunning expose. Retire non-token friend. I may draw a card.
okay.
All right, so Pancake recently brought a similar deck to this to Coco. So I'm just checking the deck list to see what his outs are at this point. Because actually, Ivory is already putting on a pretty compelling case here. Like, Pancake is gonna need to respond soon. He's got Staff of Sakanas out, which would usually be like, oh, counterplay, perfect. But Ivory's board is already completely frightened. Like, he needs to come up with something different.
And you can't flip for staff when Ivory has the spooky ruins.
That's true. Now, he can still probably bully any given friend because Soleno is 6, but he could get unlucky and have Ivory flip high enough.
You don't get a go ahead on that one.
So Pancake has Pinky Squeeze, which is a good way to slow down the situation. Pancake has only 2 Winterzillas, at least as of Coco. Only 2 Winterzillas, which is tough.
Sure.
And then Pancake has Wrath of Gilda. It would feel kind of bad to use Wrath of Gilda here to dismiss a bunch of frightened friends, but because frightened friends are still quite strong for Thorax, it might be the right thing to do. Now, Pancake doesn't have that yet. I'm just talking about outs in his deck in general, because, to be honest, we've got to start thinking about, like, what can Pancake do, in theory, if he, can wait out a few turns and then start digging and then come up with a plan. Because right now, 3 Grogar's Lair, very strong, but it did slow him down, and then Ivory came out with the Spooky Ruins, which is just such a compelling answer that now Pancake, I'm worried about how he's going to do.
Score phase.
Right? Ivory keeps doing this. Pancake goes up to a problem. Ivory goes to the same problem to bully.
You flip nothing. I flip a kind as can be.
That shouldn't change anything.
It doesn't.
Are they having a face-off? I don't...
Well, maybe it will later. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's not white, I guess, is that problem.
I have 3 T pinked. Moving out. Okay. And pass turn.
So in that situation, Pinky Squeeze would have been really good for Pancake, but he actually just doesn't have pink entry yet. He definitely would have used that card if he could, but he doesn't have the entry.
Okay.
Gonna turn down.
Oh,
Makes sense.
use uses it on Thorax.
Yeah, so this is the one big momentum
And look,
shift he'd been
Buckball's
hoping for.
out.
Oh my gosh, that is. If I were Ivory, I would be very frustrated about that fact. Like, at least it's
I'm
not
gonna rush
um,
Okay.
to perk keep.
lacking lesson plans, but still, this is pretty bad. So Pancake is going to be playing a Spitfire just to be able to have pink on his board because he needs to be able to play Pinky Squeeze.
It's like, wait a second, I mapped this out right, and then only two because of rushed.
Yep.
To Spitfire here.
So the Spitfire on her own is not nearly as impactful as usual. It's just for entry because
Pencil works
so Pancake's
anyway.
entry, it was main phase.
Yep.
So in order to actually have entry on his opponent's turn,
And it's out of the
he needed to have a pink friend on the board.
Gain 4.
So basically, he spent his whole turn just trying to get that entry, which is a bit unfortunate for him, but he's still scoring, so that's something.
You have 2 AT remaining.
Now that Pancake has pink in play, if Pancake had been put in a position where he has more points because all these Grogar's layers like really slowed Ivory down, I would feel pretty good about Pancake's chances here. However, this is a little more unfortunate. Also, Pancake only has one troublemaker down. He really, really wanted to put a troublemaker at Ivory's problem. He just didn't have one. And he's running from a point deficit. This is problematic. Now, if he can get a Wrath of Gilda down and like do some full reset, especially if he could just find a Winterzilla and get rid of the Spooky Ruins, these are things that could turn this around. But at the moment, Ivory is in an advantageous situation.
Featherweight.
Looks like
Who will enter play
Pancake
Frighten?
is ready to play a stop fighting on whatever tries to confront.
Yeah.
I'll pay 2 to rally.
Pancake
Featherweight.
also could elect to move a character because he frightened that featherweight.
Scorpius.
He did not. That's
Oh
okay.
yeah.
I will attempt Bug Ball.
He really
Fighting on.
already played both of those characters where he wanted them to go last turn, so he had no desire to move them.
I want to move off of my.
All right. Well, Pancake is able to do control, so that's buying him time, which is very valuable. Now, if Pancake can stabilize and get a troublemaker out and prevent Ivory from confronting next turn, then I'll start to believe. Oh, he's got the Pinky Squeezes. He can prevent Ivory from confronting. Everything's fine. So Pancake is probably going to stabilize here. The real worry is
All right.
once he's stabilized, how quickly can he start winning this game?
Move confront.
With the
move now.
Spooky Ruins, it actually might not be quick. He might need to like get a Flash Magnus' shield out before he can actually ever beat a troublemaker.
Wanders over here.
Sure.
Move to confront.
Yep.
And then face off.
What do I?
12 on 2.
Wait, why would there be a face-off here?
Oh, this is a double
Did-
confront because of the
Oh, of
Rainbow
course.
Dash and
Have
Mullet.
anything that I can play with only
Interesting.
2
Okay,
yellows,
I
so
understand
you
that.
get
He's not seeing troublemakers, so he's just trying to
I've had a
push
home
this
limit
game
issue
along.
This entire time.
Get 4
It
points
didn't
here,
really
go up
matter
to
much
maybe around
because
10.
Rex was unboosted, but I'll retire Gummy.
Did it matter before moving out? No, because
No.
this came out. Okay. Yep. Yep. So yeah.
And
matchup
swaying the sea
problem
ponies.
for Ivory.
Alright.
Yeah, that might put enough points on the board for Pancake to win. His score looks awful low. I'm not sure if he's gotten his bonus points yet. There we go.
And Ivory cannot block pay one to draw with Spooky Ruins because of Pancake's problem.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Players, 10 minutes remaining. 10 minutes remaining, players.
Wow, that Tempest really did what he needed for Pancake. The thing about Pancake's position here is you might think it's only somewhat to the advantage, but those pinky squeezes are very versatile. And they can just turn off Thorax once a turn. Um, and that is going to mean that Pancake actually has like several turns to put a strategy together. Now, it's quite difficult for Pancake to double face off here. Unless he has a Swinging Wonders, he's not going to like win next turn. But he's got time. Ivory's really going to need to get a little extra secret sauce somewhere or another in order to make this work. I mean, maybe just getting rid of the Staff of Sakanas might be nice. Pancake has another one, but Ivory doesn't know that. Now, it's smart to assume that Pancake has another one, but still, spending 2 to unfrighten Brian to get rid of a staff might be good. Or you could spend 4 to get rid of the 2 Rogar's Layers. That's just a little less convincing to me. I don't know that I believe that that's worth it this late in the game.
Rally O'Brien.
We
All
saw
right, we've got a Brian.
Pancake sideboard 1, Storm King Troublemaker.
Two Grogar's Layers is, yeah, you wouldn't expect it. So if he's getting rid of 1, that means he's getting rid of 2. All right, so I understand this. Ivory is saying, look, I cannot do anything crazy yet. I can't win the game in the next 1 or 2 turns. So instead, I'm going to take off the shackles. I'm going to unburden myself and just hope that Pancake does not already have the means to win the game. Now, if Pancake happened to draw a Swinging Wonders there, like, it would be game over. He'd just win outright. I think. I think he's at 10. But he didn't, and like that's the only card in Pancake's entire deck that would allow him to win outright like that. So, Ivory's saying, look, I need to speed up. I need to start soaring faster and like get friends out. So the Grogar's Layers have got to go. Hopefully, he's going to be able to move fast enough to make it work. Pancake at this point has a very compelling case to just win next turn, so Ivory's going to have a way to prevent that.
I'm starting to wonder if this is a farm deck.
Yeah, he's seen like no troublemakers. At this point, it has just mostly been control.
I mean, just the cards in his hand. His friend removal, staff, Spitfire.
Yeah, it's been very trolly. I'm guessing that he is still running Grogar and Pony of Shadows. It seems like those would fit very well in this deck, but we just have not seen them.
Down to 1 Grogar's Lair. Pipsqueak came in at home.
I hate that I have to do that. Raccoon Rampage.
Raccoon Rampage is actually quite
First one
strong
is going
here.
to be
It
unique.
can get
Second
rid
one's
of
going to be
several
assets.
resources.
And
Now,
the
it
third
depends on
one
what
is going to
traits are
be
on Pancake's
location.
resources.
Wow.
We've got location.
That was rough.
Oh yeah, this is one of
I can flip again!
the prize wheel cards.
Oh, will it be
Yeah,
enough,
so
is what I'm trying to figure out.
Ivory had to give up
Yes.
his location card, I think.
I mean,
But
that
Yes.
was
in doing
very
so, he got
good
rid of
as far
Stick
as
and
HP.
Grogar's Lair because we have
Question is, will it be
Artifact
enough? I think I
and
have to check
location,
here.
and then the speech was an asset.
Understood.
So they're all gone now.
Can't deny you that.
Honestly,
Nice to
considering
draw.
that I've been facing down 3 Grogar's layers since turn
Yeah.
3, I think
I mean,
I've done
good on
about as good
Ivory
as I
for
could.
bringing a lot of
No,
resource
absolutely.
removal. It's something that you have the option to do in yellow decks, but
Three-
you need to devote the space, and people don't always do that.
Ew.
In this case, it was hugely important in order to get anything done.
Okay.
Now, yeah, there's that staff that we did know about.
Face off against another.
Oh gosh, I think actually Pancake might be able to win this turn. No,
Yeah, okay.
no, not yet.
Set her to 0. It doesn't do anything.
He just doesn't have enough strength to confront Swaying the Sea Ponies. So he's
Alright,
biding his
I
time, but
will
that's okay.
Move to confront.
He can bide a little longer, and then next turn, perhaps, he'll have enough actions to win. So this is Ivory's time to shine. Let's see what he can do. It is still anyone's game here, but Ivory will need to kind of start turning off Pancake's board. Ivory is full of amazing cards in his hand because he hasn't been able to play anything most of the game. So that's not bad for him. Now the downside is he doesn't have yellow yet, so it's going to be a slow start. He just drew an angel, I think, which is kind of frustrating because it could have triggered last turn, and he could have played it for free because Pancake just confronted. I guess that card is called Fluttershy, not Angel, but it's a picture of a bunny.
Two for featherweight.
All right, a new featherweight.
Spitfire.
This makes sense to me. So what Pancake has to do to win here is just put a lot of dumb strength at the problem. He probably isn't going to have some fancy trick. He's just going to have to put three strength friends at that problem. So he might as well start now when he can annoy his opponent to do it. Oh, yeah, and look at that. He's going to have enough to move 2 cards next turn. He's got the Sakanis out. That will win the game if he can swing it. So I think Ivory is starting to have to really plan out. Does he have any out? Maybe he's even calculating, like, is there a card in the deck that I can pay to draw to? I'm not sure. He was looking at his discard for some reason. The yellow decks today have been having some trouble. I mean, all of the aggro yellow decks we've seen have been quite strong decks, but these blue-pink decks have been compelling.
I just noticed something in the chat. It says that in Cheese versus Kevin, Cheese took 6 playing turns in a row.
Oh no.
That's gonna basically mean.
Well, maybe that has something to do with why we are getting hard time.
Probably not.
We tried 3 other designs for a meaningful high-cost blue card, and none of them worked.
Prism Light indicates his enjoyment of the card Love
Not with
Vampire.
35 5 seconds
It
left on
is
the
a cool
clock.
card.
You still get a turn after this.
Yeah, haven't seen any yet on stream, but it's a little niche, but it's strong.
Do you have another one?
I do not.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. I want to check something.
Sure.
I do not.
Players, that is timing round, timing round. Active player, raise your hands. All right, everyone knows what they're doing.
Oh no. Well,
Now there is actually no way because you'll start a turn and then that'll be it.
If-
You can literally just do nothing. Even if by some miracle confront both these problems, we'll be tied, and then you just have to confront something.
oh yeah, the
I went
fact that
first.
Ivory
You
went
did go
first
So I'll
means
call it
that
there. Good game.
time is not
I was
going to
sitting
be
on
favorable to
two
him here.
squeezes and a
So
Yeah,
that's just
no,
a concession.
There's literally nothing I'm.
All right, Pancake takes it.
I would like to point out I didn't play a single troublemaker other than one Tempest Shadow.
I mean,
Yeah, that was a friggin' control deck through and
he
through.
played 3 Grogar's
I'm
layers by
sure
turn 4. Like, what do you even
There
do about
are
that?
epics in this deck, but we didn't see them.
I mean, that's what I did, but I mean, yeah, no. Like, what do you even do? Go ahead and sign that.
I'm sorry, man.
I mean, I would have done. That's how you do that. 3 Grogar's layers by turn
So
4.
Ivory is complaining about the Gurgar's layers, but we did see him get rid of all 3 of them, which is fairly impressive.
Turn 1, staff layer. And it was like, crud. Okay, I'll bank again.
The fact that the
Next
game
layer.
ended 7 to 12.
Next layer.
That's the thing with resource removal. Is sometimes you pack it and you go against someone that doesn't play any resources, or
Yeah, which is why
bring
sideboards
3,
are good.
You never draw one.
Exactly. So it can be nice in a matchup like this to play, 6 or even more cards that can remove resources, which means even with sideboarding, you've got to make like the conscious effort to put in resource removal cards and like make space for them, which is challenging.
That was my takeout against you.
I didn't sideboard. I don't know what to sideboard against farm, so I just don't. I know what to sideboard against not farm.
To be fair, that wasn't even farm.
No, but
That was.
I don't. Okay, I can confidently say that the lacking lesson plans didn't matter because at the time I could have done anything. I had no.
So what it did is it prevented me from putting Tempest there.
Yeah.
So that it actually did do something, but nothing that you recognized.
Sure.
Okay, how do you take 6 consecutive turns though?
With the,
Like,
I don't know how, but with Unicorn copy and blue event.
how do you get so many unicorns to copy? That's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I do not yet understand. I mean, you have to banish the card to play it.
The 2 magic instructors. Oh, and recipe research can copy too.
Okay. Recipe research? Is that really how this works? Is that all you're going for? I mean, I guess
2
it's like,
recipe research, 2 magic instructors.
I mean, that's up to 5 extra turns. It's not even enough. I mean, I guess you can trigger recipe research as many times as you want. Maybe? I'm not sure. No? I don't think so. I think it's just once.
Maybe it was triggered 4 times and then played a second time.
Hmm.
But not played twice in the same turn because playing it once causes you to lose your action.
Well, only at the end of the turn do you lose your action tokens.
Ah,
It's actually a very strong card. Like, it doesn't have a lot of downsides if you can enter it. And then blue decks might not want to play any card that costs 4 because they don't think there are going to be that many turns left in the game by the time we get to 4 actions a turn.
yeah, without copying shenanigans, it's pay 4 AT to get 4 AT in another turn.
Right. Which is still like extra points because like if you're just confronting then that's fine. But yeah, it's one of those cards that's made to be broken, which is fine.
It's fine.
I I still do not understand how you trigger this card more than 3 extra times. But
Perhaps we'll
maybe we'll
see
see.
soon.
Yep.
Poor sunburned Luna on that playmat.
Yeah, I mean it's really exceptional, that sunburn. She does not get out much during the day. That's not surprising. But like, how do you even burn your whole body so thoroughly? I guess she like fell asleep sunbathing. But why'd you even go sunbathing, Luna? Foolish.
In real life, do horses sleep standing up or sitting down?
I believe it's standing up, but I'm not a horseologist. One thing that I will say about lunch break related shenanigans is it's a card that's only especially good if you already like have a lot of action generators or otherwise have some like very particular things that you're hoping to do. And if you already have like 3 action generators or whatever on your board, like that's something that your opponent preferably should have already responded to. Like it's already something that's so strong that you are at risk of winning the game if your opponent can't do anything about it. So lunch break is only there to kind of catalyze a situation that's already very strongly beneficial for you. It's not like it'll turn the situation around all on its own.
Someone approaches.
Can I have the Trinity playmat, please?
Sure. I'm just gonna replace that with my own.
Sounds good.
This is
Hello, I'm Kifrock. Also
You
known
are
as
right about
Tricksperson.
Hithra. And
main?
Brandon.
Brandon is not the main.
If I'm not mistaken,
Okay,
Brandon
it's,
is often
it's a
known for
main that
yellow
once I
expertise.
move it, I get 100
I would
power.
love to see a yellow win today.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of really
If
strong
I
yellow
exhaust it,
losses.
I get 50 action tokens.
Wow. I wish I had a main like that.
And then we've got a
Unfortunately,
Celestia
it's
Royal
part of the
Tutor on the
contract
left,
file with
and
cards.
we do in fact see
Can I
some
read that
yellow.
main?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness gracious. It's the thrice nerfed Fluttershy.
That's not the problem with that.
Yeah, Brandon usually brings something new
Here it is.
to core games. Usually does pretty well. Usually brings something that people are surprised to see.
Almost like it is a good starting point.
Oh wait, that card never gets played, but it's good.
Yeah. All right. I need to understand what the new Fluttershy does.
I'm removing 3 mistakes.
One of your dilemmas enters
Yes,
play
please.
for the first time each turn. Okay.
I will not.
So it's about dilemma play. But I guess
Okay.
it's really hard for your dilemmas to enter play on an opposing turn. It's possible for pink,
The card I'm looking to say.
but otherwise pretty unlikely to happen.
Oh yeah, like locked in here with me. Hey, that's a dilemma.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you're pretty much only going to expect this is good if you're playing dilemmas regularly on your own turn, which is fair. It's something that's pretty strong. It depends what deck you're up against, how strong that actually is. There are some dilemmas where like you'll just play them anyway because they're good, like buckball strategy. It's just like points. Hey, everybody's happy.
I found a couple of pieces.
Not strategy, buckball something.
The 35 minutes begins.
Thank you.
But if you're not up against the troublemaker deck, then you don't necessarily need to be playing dilemmas every turn. But with this Fluttershy, you might as well. Is basically the situation. It's almost free for you to be playing dilemmas turn over turn.
It looks like Hithrock is playing the same
Well,
purple-white deck
who
as Big Cheese.
Yeah, I certainly expect it to be slightly different in certain ways, but it is the same idea. It's Royal Tutor White. We did see, or at least I saw a little row review in that deck as he was shuffling. So it's definitely white. It's probably action advantage exploitation.
Decide who goes first before taking a look.
Oh, we do?
So
Hithrock is-
get a billion actions.
Do you see your hand when deciding who goes first?
Sorry, what was that?
Go ahead.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Get a billion actions, then play Mistmains. That is the idea. This deck with Saddle Row and the new Trixie, every way that you gain actions is a little more complicated. It's not just like, ooh, every turn I gain this many actions. You have to jump through some hoops, but if you build your deck around jumping through those hoops, you obtain an exceptional number of actions. You use those actions probably, for a split between doing control things and just playing Mistmain for points. And then eventually, once you surpass a certain action threshold, you just say, I use Mistmain enough times, I win the game.
What the heck?
Hithrock is wearing the Exhaust Twilight for AT t-shirt.
I liked this at some point. No, I don't like this as much.
He's got 2 Tranquilities, which is what we in the business call exceptionally good.
218.
Very good.
Pay 1
That's
for Tranquility.
super strong for Celestia. It's super strong in general.
1 for Tranquility.
Just be like, you get
2.
past the first one, which is AT neutral, and you get towards, like, you're actually just gaining AT overall.
Pass.
Okay. I play Yona.
Can I read her, please?
Yes.
I assume that's the Eager Yona, because
Okay.
he played it on 2 rec. Or maybe it's the Critter Yona, the smaller one?
Eager Yona costs 3 AT.
Yeah, he couldn't have played 2 of them, for sure.
Maybe that's Friend to Spiders?
Yeah, I think that is probably it. Let me look up the picture.
Okay, that's right. Let's play one to draw. Okay.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
So if you put critter tokens into play, you can exhaust her to get yet more critter
How
tokens.
do I do this? I do
I
that.
remember years ago I was building a critter deck, and I was like, Yona, friend of spiders, this is perfect for it. And I was like, oh wait, this is in beta still.
Free. Okay, that works. That.
One of the advantages of Friend of Spiders is you can just play her very early, right? She's got a low rec, and then you get to use her throughout the game. Now, likely pretty early, Brandon is going to run into home limit issues, and then he's going to have to start retiring stuff, but at least for the time being, like, these Yonas are just going to stick around, and no matter where he plays critters, he's going to be able to get more critters through Yona. All right. Hithrock is already starting out fast with 2 Saddle Row reviews. One of them via Stygian. Now, the one upside for Brandon is that Hithrock does not yet have a path to gain points. So, the Saddle Row reviews don't do anything yet. What Brandon just did was a pretty tough call there. He put Stygian back into hand, which is like a bit of an oof because it allows Hithrock to trigger Stygian again, which is like, isn't that really bad? Saddle Row reviews, more of them. But this way, Hithrock loses white entry, and importantly, he loses strength, which for now is relevant because Hithrock needs to start scoring points before any of this matters. The Saddle Row reviews don't do anything if Hithrock isn't scoring.
Well, it was a good thing they had the Sweetie Belle because the makeover lasts until the end of the turn.
I don't have enough for unit.
Yeah, something cheap just to put it down for white
gets
strength.
sent to hand.
218. Draw a card.
Oof. Yeah, that is interesting. So, Brandon is hoping against hope that Hithrock doesn't have another entry card yet, because
And Hithrock is famously greedy for entries, so maybe not a bad strategy.
Now Celestia is flipped,
My main up for 2.
so
Attempt to
in
confront.
theory Hithrock can just start tutoring for stuff soon, but he would need the right size defense before that happens.
Allow?
Confront is fine, yes.
Okay. Yours.
Yeah, I think there's a spider surprise, but I think that's 4 purple rec.
Let's
That sounds right.
pay 2 for snack stand, naming purple.
Playing a snack stand. What for? Does he have a... Oh, a Starlight. Yep. So this is around the time when Brandon's like, ooh, I wish Meadowbrook hadn't been banned. Hithrock just already has this huge number of resources. We also saw this from Pancake. And the thing is, there aren't a lot of ways to get rid of several resources at once, which makes strategies like this that are very deep on resources relatively strong. Now, we've also seen a lot of yellow players, so it's a risky strategy. These yellow players can kill every one of these resources relatively cheaply, but if they can't kill several at once, it becomes really difficult to work around.
Your snack stand?
Sounds good.
All right, Brian is getting rid of Snack Stand, which is a reasonable call. There's a fair question on which is better between Snack Stand and Saddle Row, but at this point, Hithrock has not scored a point yet, so the Saddle Rows haven't done anything.
I have seen Brandon run yellow-white. I've seen yellow-purple. Yellow-white would be good if you wanted to
The last game.
get things out of discard,
Pay 2
like
for
resource
Trixie.
removal.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, Trixie. So at this point, Hithrock has started setting up the entire suite of action generation related nonsense.
Score face, confront.
He hasn't fully started triggering it, but here we see he's got two friends, so he can actually confront and trigger Saddle Row. This is where it starts to get out of control, and you need to start playing whack-a-mole. Hithrock has a million things that generate actions, and the longer he keeps them, the more easily he's going to be able to play other ones. So Brandon is going to have to start destroying these things.
Brandon plays options.
All of a sudden, Grandpa was running. What?
Yeah, Brian and Bunyip are both pretty clear calls here. That third one is not so obvious, but I wouldn't be surprised by Friend to Animals.
Yes.
That's not her name. Big Critter Fluttershy. Oh, okay. Little Bunny Fluttershy is also a good
No,
call.
that card should have been named Find a Pet You Need. That should have been a song. Okay.
I don't see what that third one is.
You know what it might be? It might be Angel as Fluttershy.
Interesting. It's
I think
really
it
not surprising that
benefits from
Brendan would have
multiple
that.
Problems.
Yeah, because he's got a dilemma-based deck. Dilemma-based deck is kind of the best card for that Angel. It's a little surprising that we didn't see a Brian, but it's also possible that, well, maybe he just thinks it's not worth it to try to get rid of the Saddle Row review because he doesn't have enough actions. I'm not sure I agree, but it's a fair thought process for sure.
You for one.
Okay.
There are two problems in play.
Sounds good.
Angel
Attempt to
comes in.
confront.
Let's pay 2 for Spider Surprise and put your bunny 3 cards down.
Brandon could have triggered the Yonas, but he did not there.
1, 2.
It doesn't change how much strength Brandon is going to have, just how many critters he'd have later.
But that wasn't much of a surprise.
Nope.
And I'll go to 3.
I will exhaust my main and search for a card.
All right, Hithrock is getting into full
Great.
cruelty mode. So he has to find a unicorn.
2 or less.
Yes. Find another Stygian. Could be fun.
I would think he would want a unicorn with white entry, which he does have.
Yeah,
He's
just
got the
exhaust the
3
planet
for
and then
3,
go
which would be
for
very strong here. But no, he's got bigger eyes than that. He wants the Mistmane already, even though he doesn't have white entry. So at this point, this is full-on Crabancer. This is
Ending your turn?
cruelty without bound.
Oh, yeah.
This is... I have over twice as many actions as you per turn. I'm going to do things that are like sort of efficient, but efficiency doesn't matter because I'm running circles around you.
Twilighting.
Sad.
Trixie will get a counter. She also has a counter from Spider Surprise and it's mandatory. Cannot miss.
I get it.
Is that a must?
Huh?
So
Is that a must?
Brandon
It is must.
Okay.
needs
Made a mistake.
some
But I'm gonna shuffle
out
it with my main anyway.
in the future. Not quite yet. It's
This card
not
goes on
that
top. This card
Hithrock
goes
is
on
in a
my hand,
winning
and this card
position.
goes on my hand.
It's that Hithrock is
And now I'll drop
in
my main,
a position of
I'll
exceptional
shuffle it, search for a card,
momentum
and then shuffle.
where he can
So 4 power, I
start
can find something with 3 power.
gaining a bajillion
Something is gonna be
actions
mana
and then using those actions to do heretical amounts of nonsense. If all he has are actions and he hasn't actually accomplished anything with them, it doesn't matter yet, right? Like, Brandon's still ahead in score. However, soon that's going to start to turn around. So Brandon has a couple of turns to come up with, like, something. You know, some way to, like, get rid of Hithrock's actions, or get rid of his friends, or get rid of his resources. But if he cannot do those things,
Let us
then
be
in just 1 or 2 turns from now, it's going to become unwinnable.
copying that. Finally, let us
So
pay
it
1.
looks like Brandon got rid of Hithrock's snack stand at some point.
Yes, that was with a Brian from earlier. He had played 1 towards the beginning.
Time to confront that problem.
Yes.
I will exhaust these three things to get
Yeah, so Hithrock already has a field twirler,
to 3 points.
um,
You have a face.
and of course 3 saddle row reviews, which means it's going to be pretty easy for him to confront turn over turn, which is problematic because that's the main thing that saddle row needs.
I was just
We will
wondering
find out.
why
We will indeed find out. Well, I will find out.
exhausted
You
the
probably
saddle
will.
rows.
I will exhaust
trying
saddle
to confront
authority
stuff.
up to 4 points.
But the bonus is 0 here, so
So
don't
you
listen
Yeah,
to me.
that would not be valuable.
home limit is fine.
What is Brandon's problem?
Looks like Seeking the Scepter, 8/8 opponent's mains can't confront. Not super relevant, but the fact that it's big is. I don't know, it's kind of neutral. It doesn't really matter for either player. Yeah, the one bonus matters a bit. Brandon does not ever intend to confront it, right? He's a dilemma player. And then Hithrock doesn't really care about confronting problems. That's sort of a means to an end for him. It's not the final goal of his deck. His deck is not about playing the game, in a conventional manner.
Thank you.
He just needs to confront one problem a turn for the saddle rows. Or, more likely at this point, play Mistmane once a turn for the saddle rows.
Yeah, I think I can still do it. Although,
It is kind of surprising how quickly Hithrock has gotten up to full power. Like, this is everything. His deck is doing everything. He'll start using Mistmane every turn and getting an additional 5, I guess, right now. An additional 5 actions a turn plus recursion. He's really, really
okay, one
doing
to
it.
activate the problem,
Yes.
which one there, one there.
All right, we've got Critters, which is going to trigger Yona.
Sounds good.
Put one there.
What's that dilemma called? Is that a sequestria dilemma?
Confront.
Yes.
I don't remember the name, but when you move there, you can pay 1 for 2 critters.
Gain 3 up to 7. Draw a card. Already things. Have a lot of things.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a Marks of Time dilemma.
Yes, not Industrial Revolution. That one I remember the name of. Okay, so one of the things that annoys me about this situation is that if Hithrock doesn't have anything better to take with the Mistmane, he can just start recurring Stygian and get this, consistent trickle of more and more saddle row reviews or saddle row storefronts that he is able to trivially trigger every turn now that he has Mistmane. So not only does he have this strong engine, but it's functionally unbounded in size because you don't have a home limit on resources, which is actually...
Let's pay 3.
I think we lost you there.
Yeah, I'm back. I was... Maybe it was bleeping me out, which is despicable, is what I meant to say.
I will get back Tranquility. What are you getting back?
Let me take a look.
Oh, Tranquility, just as bad.
Tranquility with Mistmane. A royal rare Mistmane.
So at this point, if Brandon were to play the ultra rare Fluttershy and start doubling his critters every turn,
So I am up to
it
5.
still may not be enough.
That is
Hithrock
another-
is honestly going to win very soon.
And exhaust
That is another
things.
card Brandon
Get
likes.
back
It's
to
the main phase, bounce to hand, and you can't play it again.
Let's pay 3
For a turn.
Magic Constructor over there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let's pay 1 for Tranquility. I'm gonna get 2 because I have another one in my.
I may or may not have tried
Draw a
to
card.
play Friend early after
And then I'm
Brandon
gonna
hit me
exhaust
with that one.
Magic Constructor and the Unicorn to copy that. So I'll get 3 more 18. Yeah, up to 9. And draw a card.
Ooh, another Stygian.
Let's pay 2 for Stygian.
That's pretty nice.
Ready?
Nope, nope,
I mean, I
nice
would,
and ready.
yeah. Well,
Let's exhaust Sweebel.
it looks like he's gonna be able to at least do a single
And
face-off
give
here,
power
which is
to
really nasty
Mistmane.
because then he's gonna have one of the Stitches at
He gets
home,
power for every
and then he
event
can
from my
choose to
discard
recur
pile,
it
so
with
one,
Mistmane.
two, three,
Now, to be honest, he
four,
might
five.
not ever do that because
He's at 7.
this Starlight Magic Instructor
Do I do
plus
anything
Tranquility
else?
is horrifying. So I think he might just stick with that. But this is really convincing. You know, I actually have not seen
I
this
like
deck
this fix here.
in play before.
I don't think I've seen it go this
Attempt to
wide
confirm.
before.
Yeah, this is exceptionally wide.
Alright, so up to 6 points. We have a face-off.
It is madness. This is crazy.
So
I
10,
I want to build a deck specifically to turn this deck off because it's
I win.
so cruel.
7 points.
And I'm sure that people have done that because,
I
like
saw
I
it-
mentioned,
I would
I
like
saw
that
it
much.
once on the weekly gameplay where someone played
I may
had
have
ways
a
to
homework
banish things
problem,
from the discard
so
pile,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
and
7. We'll get
enough
rid of
Yeah.
stuff was
Mistmane,
banished
we'll
that
get rid of
they're like,
exhausted Stitch.
okay, I got no win
Cool.
condition
You
now.
can proceed.
yeah, I could see that working.
Not to exhaust this, but
7.
I'm at 7.
And then, I mean, another thing that's necessary is just to get rid of some of these friends early. Like, bounce is great in a fast game, but in a game this long, bouncing friend to hand just doesn't accomplish as much. Um,
Oh, and
you just need some way to limit this.
Celestia Main has a 5 home limit.
Yeah, which is, I get it, because Celestia Main is hard to use and needs some more benefits in the mid game once she's turned on. But
Trixie should
you
be
know,
more
at this
calm.
point, when Hithrock is using the Magic Instructor, or sorry, the Royal Tutor, so often every turn to get good cards, like it just adds insult to injury that he gets to keep so many of the good cards. Not that that 3-for-3 entry really needs to be at home, but nice to have it. Time to ban Magic Instructor, says Prism Light. Magic Instructor has been around for a very long time and has always been more interesting than problematic. Now,
I've tried to make Magic Instructor work.
yeah, it's really, really challenging to make her work. I think Tranquility, honestly, is a quite problematic card. Like, the thing about Tranquility, I don't want to get too much on the soapbox here, but if you think about, like, what is a deck with a purple main that does not want to play Tranquility,
Wow, this card is good.
it I have a headache because what a dumb question. Like, how could you possibly elect not to play Tranquility? It's a perfect card. Like, the only reason would be for flip average.
I think the only purple deck that doesn't run it is Purple Farm.
Exactly. So, if the flip average is important, and then obviously if your main character is not purple, you might not play the card. But
418.
otherwise, it's a perfect card, right? Like, it fits into
Bunch of things.
like 100% of, in quotes, applicable decks. It has no downside, and it's so easy to bust with Magic Instructor. We could say, we have to, you know, many years after she was printed, ban Magic Instructor because of Tranquility, but I think personally Tranquility has always been a problematic card. That being said, purple needed that. Look, we want purple to be a fun color to play.
Yeah, purple
There
has
was
been
a
gone for
long
while.
time when you could get nothing done with purple. Tranquility was a step in the direction of purple being good, but after Tranquility was printed, purple was still just mediocre. Like, it took
Let's be one more.
this exact deck and other similar decks like it to put purple back on the map at all. Purple's hard to play in the modern era.
Free for miss.
So kudos to these builders, but also I'm disappointed in you. Oh my god. I hate it. Make it go away.
Okay, gets Tranquility back. guessing Hithrock will soon exhaust the saddle rows.
Yep, it just he has to figure out if Brandon is going to use Mistmane. Now, if Brandon uses Mistmane, would
I'll exhaust 4
Hithrock get
saddle,
8
4
actions
AT.
instead of 4? Because that would be a pretty good reason not to use the Mistmane trigger.
Yeah, I
Where
think
is
it's
that?
2 points.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, it's just a question of like how it
So Trixie's
how it
got
counts them. Do you
nothing
get the
because I
points
didn't play any
separately or
events.
at once?
I'll exhaust this Trixie 4 AT up to
And I
10.
don't know.
I'll exhaust Starlight 4 AT up to
For
11.
each card put in a player's hand this way, score a point. I don't know if that's
Uh,
like collapsed into a single moment or not as far as Saddle Row, but that's
I
okay
will
because Brandon
exhaust Sweetie
didn't
Belle,
elect to do that anyway.
give power to Mistmane. A lot of power.
Using
1,
Mistmane to
2,
confront.
3, 4. Not that much.
Yeah,
I'll
I
attempt
mean,
to score
even though,
50
you're
points.
constantly cycling between two Mistmanes,
9,
you always end up with one Mistmane at the
Oh,
problem.
wait, is that
10,
only 4
15,
power there?
not
Or is Sweetie
15.
Belle
Yes. I
adding
have 9
Yeah,
power.
power?
probably
2,
Sweetie
Oh,
Belle
yeah,
is being
Sweetie Belle's
used.
6,
exhausted.
7, 8, 9. I will discard Citrine Spark. Go ahead.
Limit.
5.
Oh, I think it's 4 all the time.
Sometimes paying
No,
3
at
for a
Celestia's
friend, you
one.
expect 3 power.
That's true, yes. Which, nobody's complaining, oh, Mistmane is so low power. But you just
Yeah,
think sometimes,
it's
oh,
not.
I
It's
paid
not.
3.
It's
It's,
so
it's 1 for 1.
inefficient.
Shall play adoption options.
Alright. What are you
Other
looking for?
adoption options.
Cards.
I would hope so.
Is there. Well, so I would think that the big Fluttershy would be a clear choice at this point, now that he's got so many critters. Oh, Antoine, for sure. Very strong here. And then Bunyip is an obvious call. Bunyip is just free points. The issue is. Yeah, okay. So those are the 3. The issue is there's no way for that to be enough value at this point. I mean, like, Hithrock just has such clear control of the game,
This kind of thing.
and I'm guessing Brandon doesn't have Sanctuary Scuffle. I'm also not sure that would help.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing with high confidence that he doesn't have Meadowbrook. So I just don't know, what to do here.
Retire critter to pay 1 less for your next yellow friend to
So
minimum
Brandon is
of
aware
one.
of
You get
Prize
it.
Wheel 2.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, we've finally seen some new cards. I mean, we've seen plenty of cards that are
Shall
relatively new in this tournament, but none from Prize Wheel 2, like
Now, hold on.
Antoine.
After you remove 1, I want to.
I'm guessing Smithers ran
So you
Fleetfoot,
removed 1,
but
well,
we
because
didn't
I
see
needed
it
a ability.
specifically.
yes.
So if you retire 1 critter, I am answering.
Okay.
I will Spider Surprise the snake.
So I can
Down
only
to
do it
frame.
1 less for the next yellow.
Well, I guess Fleetfoot's just Prize Wheel 1, which
Spider
we've actually
Surprise
seen
is
plenty
2,
of.
So I will. Go
Yeah,
down to
just
9.
Antoine. That's the only
Are
one
you
so far.
choosing Unity or no?
Yes. Now exhaust my main to search for.
So Hithrock waits until the critter is retired and
Do you have
then
anything good to power left?
bonks Antoine on
Yes,
the
I could
head
find this teacher. Let's get lost.
with a spider surprise.
Only 1 less.
Finds a luster one.
Yeah, might as well just get some more points. We did see Raccoon Rampage last game from Everfree. That was the first true Prize Wheel 2 card we've seen,
Oh yeah.
and it was used to great effect, getting rid of 3 resources.
It's just so unfun to play against someone with 9 AT at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Immediates.
Sounds good.
Yours.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the
Obviously, you must
fashion
have saw whatever turn
Fluttershy
you
card. I don't even remember
So
what that
I get
was.
4, which is 10.
Me neither.
Plus 3, 13. I can count, I swear. All of that readies. And all of this readies. Alright. You have 0 AT.
Mm-hmm.
3 times 6 is 18. 15. Yes, I I will exhaust this and that to get 218.
I don't
So
recognize
I
the
will
art.
play Feet of Pick,
I'm looking it up now.
and I will banish your stop short from your discard.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
trying
pay
to find it,
3
but
Maybe
it
it's
might be an alt
acceptable
art.
business
for Mist
attire.
Main, and I'll get
Oh,
this
that
Mist
would
Main
make
back into
sense.
my hand.
Yeah, it
I will
seems like a
exhaust.
pretty plausible
Are
alt
you
art
getting
for that.
anything back? No. Okay, 10.
So it just
I'll
gives
exhaust
persistence
all
to
4 of these
Pegasus friends,
to
not
get
critters.
418 up to 16. And if you're not doing anything, I'm doing that 5 more times. Free ET per time. Do you want me to like fully play it?
Please.
Okay. Playing Mist Main, getting this Mist Main back. 11
no?
points minus 3.
I say no.
Brandon is
No.
requesting
Oh,
that
I'm
Hithrock
not
goes
partaking.
through with the
Yeah, like.
Yep.
Mist
And
main
then I'm playing Mist Main
just to see
down to 10.
that he
And
actually
finally
does
on
in
the dice,
fact
here it
get
is.
enough points to win.
Getting this back up to 12 points.
But it seems like
And then I'm playing
I,
Mist
I
Main,
personally don't know exactly how many
getting
points
this one
Hithrock
back
has, but it seems like he's
down to 7.
at 12 or more by now. So this is gonna be it. He's
Up
just
to
gonna win
15
by
points.
doing this.
And I'm playing Mist Main, getting this one back down to 480 and 14 points. And I'm playing Mist Main down to 118.
So we've
Main
seen
back
a
to
lot
15
of
points,
yellow
that's
at this
game.
tournament,
Good game.
and a lot of
I'm
fairly
guessing you don't
strong
want
and
to reveal
versatile
the
yellow,
combo
but
this
it
game.
keeps losing.
Or
One
not
thing
yet.
I was a little worried about was the time that
What's the combo,
maybe
if you don't mind?
Celestium deck would run into a time crunch without the full
Yeah.
35 minutes, but
Okay.
no, it did fine.
Yeah, this Hithrock had a pretty strong start.
Let me read
Was
that.
part of
I
it.
don't remember what this card is. Well, I do know what this card is, but I don't remember what exactly it does.
Oh, does Brandon have like a little combo
Okay.
win condition in here with
Outrageous?
rarity?
Yes. Okay, that one I know.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
there's
does.
some white in there. Told you!
I was
Told you!
thinking it
He
was
plays
something
white.
else other than outrageous
Yep.
for some reason, but
You do need to get
So
up to
again,
15
outrageous
white
outfit. I actually
strength
have
in
an
order
answer,
for that to be a
which is this card.
one turn
But you
kill
can just repeat
combo,
it next
but
turn.
still.
It only stops
Pretty
you for
good.
one turn. It delays you for one turn.
I've never seen anybody actually run that card.
Everybody who runs this deck runs this card, trust me.
So
I've never seen
the
that build
the
before.
Celestia deck here had a pretty good showing. I mean, that was very convincing. I think
So be
Hithrock
careful.
had a strong
It
start,
only delays you
but
for one turn.
once you've got a strong start with Royal Tutor, like everything else is going to work out. You're going to
All
have a
three
strong
of my
middle and end.
Yamas
I
and
wonder if
Yeah.
Brandon's deck would have been better with
I had a really good
Thorax.
start. I got lucky. But then you slowed me down by
It
bouncing all
would
of my white stuff.
work with Thorax. Like,
That
it would
slowed me
still
down
be quite
very much.
good, but I think it's hard to know if it would be better. Like, so for example, if there was more troublemakers, and you know there are players at this tournament who are using troublemakers, just having all of the dilemma synergy is quite strong. Like, I will say that the new Fluttershy is a relatively weak card, so like it's hard to use her well, but
It's better
she has
if you
some
can
key
get
benefits.
something out of it
Royal
every
Tutor.
turn.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, but in this case, you know, there were some turns where Brendan just didn't need a dilemma, so
In
there's
what
not
way? In good
necessarily
way or
any
bad
reason
way?
to put one down.
Bad way, okay.
What
What are you
Brandon's
playing?
problem might have hurt
It's
him
not,
this
not
week.
a secret.
Ara's deck.
What?
Ara's deck. The Kate's deck.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I asked you yesterday. I already forgot.
I mean,
I have
Brandon
memory of a goldfish.
had an aggressive start where he
Three Angel Wings.
tried to deny color entry to Hithrock,
Angel Wings, Angel
which
Wings,
was
Angel Wings.
I wasn't able
like
to do anything.
a big deal. It just did not end up working out.
That's where it's like fun. Angel Wings,
Um,
Angel Wings, Angel Wings.
And then
Play.
Hithrock
Oh, I've
just
already
had
done one. I
such
put
a
all the
strong
Angel
start
Wings back
because
in
two
my hand. Let's
Tranquilities
do this
Where's-
completely breaks the curve of the game, right? Like, playing against an opponent that's playing two Tranquilities in the beginning is
I like this thing.
like you just they had one extra turn in the beginning of the game, which is a big deal.
How was that
So it's hard to
possible?
do
We've
anything
had three
about that.
rounds.
And yellow just
Yeah, I guess I won.
always does
Oh,
not
yeah,
have a
1-1.
lot
Yeah,
to
2-1.
do in this type of matchup because it doesn't have permanent friend counterplay.
My first game was to
So it's just really challenging on such a wide board. Like, I'm a proponent of Sanctuary Scuffle just to try to have some large form counterplay, but Sanctuary Scuffle is very hard to use, and I've rarely had success with it anyway. Um,
I love the game.
really, when uh, purple used to pull shenanigans like this, the only way that yellow stayed viable was Meadowbrook, right? Like Meadowbrook got banned relatively quickly, but she was printed for a reason, and the reason was decks like this, which built up so wide as to be, exceptionally oppressive. You needed an answer. Now that hasn't been true in the game for a little while because spam resources haven't been as big a deal. Um, it's mostly been you play one or two high impact resources instead. But this deck with the spam resources, it's actually very hard to counter using conventional means, unless you play Catajack or School Shutdown.
Have we seen any orange yet?
No orange yet. A lot of blue, yellow, pink, and then one purple here. Well, purple, white, so that's everything but orange. What I will say is that we have seen the pink decks do fairly well here, and this purple white monster is probably relatively weaker against pink decks. That could even be related to why people are bringing pink decks. Um, so, like, I don't think Hithrock and I guess by extension Big Cheese, who's playing a similar deck, have it in the bag just yet. I could see them running into some stiff competition, especially from pink and then maybe also white decks. If there are any pink white decks, I'd be sweating. But so far, pretty dominant.
Players, that is time around. Active player, put up your hand.
Looks like soft time has been hit.
Active player, put up your hand.
So after 3 rounds, um, I would say that Hithrock here had the most convincing victory, though Arakat also had a pretty convincing victory against Smithers.
Yes.
But right now, I will say that the deck that I'm most worried about in this competition, the one that seems the strongest based on the small sample size we've seen, would be that Royal Tutor, the same one that's topping Tia right now. Seems to be a good reason for that.
And I don't know. Remember 2 commentaries Magic streams ago? They were talking about matchups between the meta decks. And I don't know that Royal Tutor was favored as much as it looks like it would have been favored today.
I I remember that they did that, but I did not see it personally. But yeah, I mean, we can't exactly say that Royal Tutor's been a sleeper because she is on top of Tia right now. But yeah, pretty convincing. Seems like could be stronger than some people expected, though I assume everybody already sort of knew in the back of their minds, hey, this is a strong deck. I either need to make the decision that yes, I'm going to lose against it, or I need to build for it.
We'll probably be seeing Bugle on the table stream at some point. See their Yona and Sandbot